Speaking whimsically, how does Christianity break the evil wizard's spells? Hi, my name is Ted Rosenblatt, and this is Talks with Dad Rod. I'm here with my father, Dr. Rod Rosenblatt. We're going to kind of dip our toes a little bit into the storytelling realm here. You know, we were talking recently about Lord of the Rings, making sure the kids are reading those things and enjoying them. J.R.R. Tolkien spoke of Lord of the Rings as I think he said inherently Christian work. Mm-hmm. Though he stayed away from defending any aspects of it. He was clearly not going where Lewis went.
He and Lewis would debate that with what they were presently writing.
And I'm on Lewis's side on this.
And Tolkien said, Lewis, in those Narnian Chronicles, they're virtually quotations from John's Gospel. It's way too explicit. And then Lewis would say to Tolkien, yours is not explicit enough and is starting to float away from the earth. And it was a constant debate at the bar as they read their chapters to each other. Lewis was on the side of more explicit, and Tolkien was on the side of less explicit.
And I think we, in our sinful nature, we have to be slapped with it, because as we see, we end up with, and nothing wrong with it, but we end up with things like Dungeons and Dragons, right? Yeah, we end up making a board game out of it and make it into an utterly unchristian thing, just purely another fantasy work that you see on the row with all the other fantasy authors.
Right. You find Wicca picking up the Lord of the Rings for a Wicca reading of them.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, you end up with the Celtic runes and all kinds of fun things get injected in there. And in as much as I think things can be rescued even out of that, we can make object lessons out of a number of things.
Yeah, and Lewis, it wasn't as if Lewis was not acquainted with Norse mythology. He knew it and loved it.
So what is it that they point to in their writings, whether explicitly, implicitly, all that debate aside, we as readers, we as viewers, what should we be getting? And I threw this out there, and we're going to do a separate episode on it. I was thinking we should do this as a separate question, but I think I'm going to throw this in here. What does it matter that in our storytelling in America now, coming out of Hollywood and in our general book writing and so forth, what does it mean that we have lost happily ever after? The idea of happily ever after, I've noticed, I was just thinking about this the other day, is missing. It's absent. Yep. We used to have that. The Sleeping Beauty thing is the encapsulation.
Yep.
What does it matter that a story like that isn't told anymore, and that an ending like that isn't told anymore?
Yeah, highly significant. There are very few movies today coming out of Hollywood that I want to watch. Not for moral reasons. I mean, I hate the theme of torture. I won't even watch it. I just hate the theme. But Hollywood is bereft of what you've mentioned. And one way to see that is to do a short study on the word hope in the New Testament to see how integral hope is to genuine Christianity. It's all over the place. Now, what if you have a culture where all hope is removed? They're basically doing existentialism or worse. Total Greek skepticism in the media of our day. Well, you get children who don't have visual presentations of a happy ending. Tolkien thought that the best, and he was the expert in the Western world on faerie, he thought that any fairy tale worth its weight would have that happy ending. It would come as a surprise, what he called eucatastrophe, but if it didn't have that, then it wasn't worthy of the name.
And this is one of the things I wrestled with as a kid was the idea that I knew the idea of a happy ending in this life was more fantasy than the fantasy itself in a certain sense. I just knew. It's like, look at the divorce rate, look at the, the drug abuse rate, look at the addiction rate, look at how lonely we are, how hopeless we are. We're all trying to find gods to fill the holes in our heart. And even as a kid, I could recognize that. But what does it point to that is missing? That the whole thing is supposed to go toward in the first place in fairy tales like Tolkien spoke of.
Yeah. I used to use in class Spielberg's from
Amazing Stories,
the one about the guy trapped in the belly turret trying to limp home in that B-17, and he was trapped in the belly turret. And he couldn't get up into the fuselage of the plane. So the landing gear mechanism was jammed. So they tried to manually crank down that one landing gear because it was certain doom if you landed only on one landing gear. One guy, meaning well, passed him a .45 in case he wanted to blow his brains out. And he said, no, give me a sketch pad. And he sketched this cartoon balloon of the side of the landing gear that wouldn't go down. And when the thing landed, that thing appeared in reality. That funny balloonish tire held them in reality so they'd get out before the thing blew up. It was a catastrophe. And Spielberg, I think, is a non-religious Jew, but he knows how to tell a story. And there it was. So I said to my students, go find that one on YouTube and watch the episode. You'll see it in that.
Our culture, the kingdom of the left, does not have a real model of eucatastrophe in anything.
Yep.
You can't even, I see Lord of the Flies, even though, we go to scripture and it says even the natural world proclaims the wonders and the glory of the Lord every day. And of course we will agree with that. But we don't in nature have this explicit antithesis of what you should expect. You should expect judgment. You should expect condemnation. You should expect that if you've done something wrong, that somehow it's going to come back to you. And if you've stolen, if you've killed, if you've hated in some way, you've acted that out. There are, and there always are. It's like getting a speeding ticket. Whether the cop forgives you or not, you're still going to have a ticket that you have to work out in court. So there are kingdom of the left outcomes from things. But in terms of a model of hope,
that goes to the storytellers of your culture. And as far as I can tell, it doesn't even occupy brain space in our modern storytellers. There's nothing in there.
I would like to think that there is a coming generation that we are going to see a return to the Reformation, the theology of the Reformation, and that out of that we will see another Renaissance of a sort. And part of that I'd like to see is that the kids will rise up and write stories for kids, which is, of course, all of us. I was always frustrated that C.S. Lewis's stories were in the kids section. I was like, this is for me.
Yeah.
If this is in the kids section, then I am a kid.
Yep.
I don't care what. I'll be 85 and I'll still be a kid.
Yeah, in Narnia, Lewis covers in mythological language every major doctrine of the Christian faith. It's for adults too.
Just like the proclamation of the good news for us.
Yep.
Is for believers as well as unbelievers.
Yep.
That we have been saved. Okay, we're going to wrap this. Hope you enjoyed it. This is a fun one. I keep saying that. We have all kinds of fun ones. Hope you enjoyed it. Go to 1517.org for more, and please consider donating. It is the funding of people like you that makes content like this available, that we can do more and more. And we can't be thankful enough for the generosity of our donors. Hope to see you soon. Come visit us on Facebook. Thank you for joining us on Talks with Dad Rod, part of the 1517 Podcast Network. This podcast and all 1517's content is made possible through financial support by listeners just like you. Please visit 1517.org for more. And please consider clicking on the donate button and making a recurring or one-time contribution to help us share this good news in a world which so desperately needs it.